What if the heroes of the MCU did not turn out the way we expected them to? What if they were evil? There are so many different possibilities in the realm of Marvel and so many different scenarios that we've all thought of that we've just been itching for answers to. Well, in this series, What If? Marvel answers most of these questions. Each episode explores a parallel universe where something entirely different happens. So let's get into it. As the Nazi army marches throughout Europe, World War II threatens the entire world. In humanity's darkest hour, Captain America was born. But in this universe, a single choice altered the timeline and created an entire new universe. Agent Carter decided to stay in the room, and things went south. Steve Rogers is shot, and Carter goes into the pod instead. She becomes the first Avenger. As she's being checked on, the commander argues with her because she is a girl, and he doesn't believe that women can be soldiers. She begins training to unleash her anger onto something. Meanwhile, Steve is alright, but he's still the same skinny, defenseless man he was before the serum. Hydra invades a town in Norway, searching for the Tesseract that will turn the tide of war. Back in the US, Carter wants to infiltrate and steal the power device, but the commander is ignorant of its powers and too stubborn to understand. Carter is drowning in her sorrows. She's given a custom and a shield by Howard Stark and goes on a solo mission to retrieve the Tesseract. She ambushes a Hydra convoy. While she's too strong for the rest, she's also reckless. She wipes the floor with the convoy in a rapid fashion. Finally, she takes out the last man who mocks her for being a girl. After her victory, she delivers the Tesseract and demands to be on the field. Later, Steve asks her to save Bucky, who's been missing in action, and she obliges. She hijacks a German bike and breaks into a Hydra camp. She takes out the guards and rescues Bucky and his team before they shoot their way out. They are pinned down and ask for air support. To everyone's surprise, Steve Rogers becomes the first Iron Man. He uses the suit to beat all the Hydra forces. Together, the team proceeds to kick ass around the world, liberating many towns of Hydra control. As a result, Hitler demands the return of Red Skull, but he's no longer taking orders from ordinary men. He says he's bringing in a champion from beyond the stars and kills the Nazi commander. The entire branch hails Hydra as it appears to become its own separate entity. Carter is having a drink with Steve, and both of them share a moment. But just as they are about to kiss, they're interrupted by Stark and Bucky. Thanks, guys. They depart to intercept Red Skull amid a moving train. Steve slows it down while the rest board it, but Steve quickly discovers that the train is armed with explosives.
It's a trap!
Steve gets caught in the explosive and disappears. Back home, Carter questions Zola to reveal Red Skull's plan. She finds out that he intends to release an interdimensional force that will leave Hydra to world domination. The entire team bands together for Steve as they go on a possible one-way trip to infiltrate Red Skull's castle. They take out the Hydra guards and get inside. Red Skull has regained the Tesseract, and he uses it to power up a device. In another room, they find the Iron Man suit. From the device, a portal is opened, and a monster comes out that instantly kills Red Skull. Steve is found, and he immediately goes back into the suit. The suit is powered up by the portal, and he's ready to go. Howard tries to reverse the process and pull the creature back. Carter arms herself with a sword and gets slashing on the creature. It screeches and takes out the normal men, but Steve flies the team off to safety. Finally, Carter decides to sacrifice herself to push the creature back into the portal and gets sucked into it as well. She finds herself transported to the present day, 70 years after the war, where she is met by Nick Fury and Hawkeye. It seems destined that Cap was always meant to live outside of his time. In a different universe, on the planet of Morai, Star-Lord is stealing the orb containing the Power Stone. This time, Star-Lord is T'Challa. Armed guards pull up from behind him, and he asks if they've heard of who he is. This time, to his surprise, they have. The head guard begins fanboying over him and they get into a weird and petty fight until Star-Lord finally takes him out. He uses a device to swiftly take out the other two guards, but before he leaves, he decides to hire his fan. He is awaited by a group of soldiers on his way out, but a Ravager never flies solo. They're all taken out by an arrow through the command of a whistle. Yondu. While T'Challa flies into space, he explores his down-to-earth origins. As a young boy, he was tired of living in a bubble in Wakanda. In this universe, Yondu let his incompetent crew retrieve Ego's child, and they grabbed the wrong one. They got T'Challa instead. In the present time, the crew rolls into the club and recalls their stories in past heists. Thanos is even part of this crew as a reformed man who was talked out of his genocidal goal. Drax is a bartender, and Star-Lord is with Nebula. T'Challa explains that Wakanda was destroyed when he was younger, so now he tries to protect other worlds from following the same fate. Nebula has a job for him, a plant that can feed an entire galaxy. The team is excited until they find out that they have to steal the Ember Seeds from the Collector. The entire team fears the name, however, T'Challa convinces Yondu, explaining that now they have a chance to stop stealing from pockets and rob the entire bank. They lay out their plan. They'll infiltrate the mining operation that is protected by the Black Order. Nebula will get inside pretending to sell the orb and sneak T'Challa in. The rest will cause a distraction outside by starting a fight. Finally, Nebula distracts the Collector while Star-Lord finds the embers. T'Challa roams the inventory and comes across all sorts of things, including a talking duck. The Black Order discovers that it's actually the Ravagers, and the building is locked down right away. T'Challa finds a Wakandan ship and looks inside. He finds a distress message from his dad, informing him that they're still searching for him to this day. Yondu lied to him. He then gets betrayed by Nebula and the entire crew is locked up. T'Challa accuses Yondu of lying to him and tells him that the Ravagers were never his family. He's then knocked out by the Black Order to be taken to the Collector. He meets him, and the Collector intends to either place him as a trophy or dissect him. In a triple cross, Nebula saves the crew and tells them that this was the plan with T'Challa all along. He uses his medallion to escape but gets caught by one member of the Black Order, who then gets shot by one of the slaves. T'Challa continues to escape, but he's intercepted by the Collector, who uses his collections to beat him around. The rest of the crew are escaping from the Black Order, and Thanos decides to stay behind. The Mad Titan is unleashed as he beats their chasers before he's stabbed in the leg from behind. As T'Challa is almost defeated, a Ravager never flies solo. Yondu comes to the rescue once again, but this time, the arrow is caught and snapped into two. Meanwhile, Thanos is ganged up on by the Black Order until he's saved by his daughter, Nebula. She feeds one of the goons the Ember Seeds and it rapidly grows out of him, covering the entire planet. They bounce, while Star-Lord and Yondu devise a plan. Yondu gets beaten up while he steals the bracelet device from the Collector, and Star-Lord throws him into the cell, before handing the slave the device, who releases every other prisoner to take their revenge. Finally, they escape, and everyone is okay. Plus, they now have a dog. In the end, Star-Lord returns to Wakanda, where he is given a hero's welcome. Meanwhile, Peter Quill, the original Star-Lord, is met by his father, which would spell bad news for the rest of the universe. In this universe, on a random Monday, Nick Fury and Black Widow are on their way to recruit Iron Man into the Avengers initiative. They get to the donut shop where it all started and give him something to treat the symptoms of his failing heart. In an unexpected twist, he dies instead. You see, in our universe, in the span of 1 week, 3 remarkable events took place. Tony Stark created his suit and became Iron Man. Bruce Banner became the Hulk, and Thor arrived on the planet. These events would then give us the Avengers. But in this universe, on a Tuesday, Black Widow was arrested for the suspected murder of Tony Stark. Fury plots with her to escape and find out who really poisoned Tony. When she's in the transport van, she frees herself and takes out the entire transport team before escaping. In New Mexico, S.H.I.E.L.D. finds Thor's hammer. Security is taken out one by one as Thor lays waste to the entire team. Hawkeye takes to the skies to target Thor, and he's told not to fire, but an arrow gets fired anyway into Thor's heart. Hawkeye is arrested and locked up, and the mighty Thor is dead. Fury goes in to talk to Hawkeye but finds that he's dead as well. Poisoned. First Iron Man, now Thor and Hawkeye. On a Wednesday, in Virginia, Black Widow meets Dr. Ross. She's asked about the drug that killed Tony, and after analyzing it she reveals that it wasn't biological. The serum wasn't even released from the needle, it was probably nanotech. Fury calls her and informs Black Widow that Hawkeye is dead. The last 2 remaining Avengers are her and Bruce Banner, who she needs to find. Funny enough, he's riding in the closet right in front of her. She notices something is off and says that they need to go. Meanwhile, Agent Coulson's car shakes and a teleport hits the ground. The Asgardian army arrives under Loki's command. The army is confronted by a squad and Widow calls Fury, while the US army pulls up to capture the Hulk. Loki is looking for vengeance for the murder of his brother Thor. The army is ordered to hold fire, but Bruce gets shot by a mysterious shooter, and he starts turning into the Hulk. At the same time, both Loki and Hulk lay waste to the places they're in. Hulk suddenly begins expanding until he suddenly explodes. Sif calms the situation and Loki gives Fury until the next sunrise to find the killer, or else the planet will be destroyed. In a random library, Black Widow is looking through S.H.I.E.L.D. files to find out who's behind the murders. She's suddenly attacked and beaten around by an invisible person. She desperately leaves Fury a message telling him that it's about a person named Hope. Now the Avengers are all dead, but there are still two names left alive, Fury and Captain Marvel. Fury decides on one last plan and goes to meet with Loki. On a Thursday, Fury visits Hope Van Dyne's grave and he's confronted by Hank Pym, who has been behind it all. Hope died as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hank is on a revenge tour. Fury swats him away and they fight, but Fury strangely keeps teleporting and multiplying. Until finally Hank is caught. It was Loki all along and Fury joins in. Loki arrests him, suggests that they should be allies, and extends his stay. On a Friday, in a United Nations meeting, Loki rules the Earth because there were no Avengers to fend him off. All of them are gone except for Captain America and Captain Marvel. In this universe, it is one that was led through one wrong choice, bringing us to the worst possible outcome. Doctor Strange was being reckless on the road, but this time Christine dies in the accident. Doctor Strange doesn't lose his hands in this universe. He lost his heart. Struck by grief, Doctor Strange resorts to the mystic arts for answers. He looks into time travel as he just can't let go of his dearly beloved. 2 years after Christine's death, he decides to go back and alter the timeline. This time around, he isn't being reckless on the road. He takes all of the necessary precautions, but Christine still dies anyway. He goes back again and chooses a different route altogether, but they still crash. Even when they don't go to the party at all, going for pizza instead, Christine dies. No matter what Doctor Strange tries, Christine always dies. He even tries to ghost her and leave her hanging. She dies. He hands her the keys to drive, but she still dies. Her death is inescapable. Finally, he's visited by the one who tells him that Christine's death is an unchangeable event. Changing it will have catastrophic consequences on the timeline. Still, Doctor Strange intends to change it, risking it all for the love of his life. So he finds himself searching for the lost library of Cagliostro, hoping to find the key to overcoming time and saving Christine. A guide awaits him, not sparing him a word at first. He finds the grand library and makes his way to the entrance, but it is filled with booby traps. He falls into the traps and finds the guide welcoming him before taking him to the library. Filled with books and scrolls, it contains all of the universe's secrets. He finds what he's looking for, but it leads him down a sinister path. He intends to drain other beings of their power, but he faces a very strong monster right away and finds himself in trouble. He wakes up later to be treated by the guide, but keeps going anyway, draining one creature after another by force. Days and nights pass, till he finally works his way up to the final boss, the original monster. Once he's done, he returns to the real world to find the guide dying. Strange had frozen himself in time for centuries, consuming other beings and becoming more powerful. The guide reveals that he was actually Cagliostro all along. He explains that there's another Doctor Strange in this universe as well, one that didn't go back in time. The one explains to Doctor Strange that she split the universe into two timelines. One timeline where Doctor Strange went back in time, and one where he didn't. The problem is they're running at the same time and cannot coexist. The evil Doctor Strange must be stopped because the fabric of reality is breaking and everything is being erased. All of a sudden, Doctor Strange is pulled through a magical hole in the universe. He falls into the void and finds his alter ego. This Doctor Strange has officially gone mad. He intends to merge with the other Doctor Strange as their powers are diluted between the two of them. The good Doctor Strange tries to reason with him, but to no avail. The two wizards get into a fight, but the evil Doctor Strange possesses too much power. He pulls the good Doctor Strange into a fake reality, trying to drop his guard before finally attacking him. Finally, the evil magician absorbs his second half. Oozing with power, he finally brings Christine back. Things go sideways, however, when Christine is horrified by him. Everything goes wrong in the universe as Christine vanishes and everything falls apart. Defeated, Doctor Strange finally calls for the Watcher, whom he'd sensed through his unimaginable power. Filled with regret, he asks for help, but the Watcher tells him that he was wanted about the consequences and he cannot intervene. The universe collapses, and only Doctor Strange remains. One choice led to the destruction of an entire universe. In this harrowing universe, Bruce Banner returns to Earth from Sakaar to warn everyone about Thanos, but something has already happened. Thanos' henchmen arrive but are instantly destroyed by the Avengers. The surprising twist is, the Avengers are zombies. It is Doctor Strange's cape that saves Banner as a swarm of ants comes to the rescue. The Wasp kills Iron Man, and Spider-Man grabs Banner to get into safety. You see, 2 weeks earlier, Hank Pym had gone to the quantum realm to save his wife, but she'd contracted some kind of virus from there that turned her into a zombie. She bites her husband as soon as they are reunited. They're pulled back and infect Ant-Man while Hope escapes. It doesn't take long until the entire US is infected. Ironically, the Avengers tried to intervene, but they were infected as well, bringing humanity's doom with them. Meanwhile, Spider-Man gives us a guide into the zombie apocalypse. Step 1 is to wear long sleeves. Step 2 is hygiene. Third and most important step is to always aim for the head. Very few heroes survived.
You should have gone for the head.
Black Panther's body has gone missing, and a potential cure exists out there from a signal coming off. While they're trying to find a way to get to the camp emitting the signal, Happy is stabbed and dragged away while Carter is shot by an arrow. Zombie Hawkeye and Falcon arrive and attack the squad. Meanwhile, Spider-Man tries to thrust a train forward using his webs. Zombies begin swarming him, but the cape saves him and clears the area around him. As soon as everyone is on board, he launches the train. Inside, Carter hears something and sets off to investigate. It turns out to be a zombie Captain America. Bucky charges at Cap, and the Wasp is swallowed by the now infected Carter. Cap gets sliced in half, and the Wasp expands from inside Carter, tearing her apart. Unfortunately, she has an exposed cut, and she is now infected. Spider-Man tries to give her hope later on, but the situation is futile. To make matters worse, the train runs out of fuel. They have to walk the rest of the way, but they're surrounded by a horde of zombies. With Hope's fate sealed anyway, she sacrifices herself and turns into a giant to carry the team over the horde. Once they cross, surprisingly the zombies do not cross after them. They go inside to discover that Vision is still alive because he is an android and zombies aren't interested in android brains. He also figured out the reason why zombies stay away from the camp, and he found a way to turn them back. Ant-Man is alive after he cured him, even though he's just a head. The problem with a wide-scale treatment, though, is that the technology needed only exists in Wakanda. Bucky investigates around but uncovers a harrowing truth. He finds a zombie Wanda imprisoned by Vision, and he has been feeding her people, including an amputated T'Challa. The argument upstairs wakes up Wanda, who hasn't eaten in 3 days. Vision, finally realizing what he's done and awake to the reality of his actions, destroys the ground around Wanda and removes the stone from his head to hand it to the heroes as it's needed for the cure. After his death, Wanda is angry, and their fight continues. Banner decides to sacrifice himself to wake up the Hulk, who does emerge from within. But it is too late. Hope re-emerges as a zombie giant, but the team manages to narrowly escape. They fly off towards Wakanda, where they hope to use the Mind Stone to save the planet. Little do they know that their plan will bring their final doom, as a zombie Thanos rises someplace else. A small change inside a journey can change its entire destination. In this universe, Tony Stark's convoy is attacked in Afghanistan, but before the missile blows up next to him, Killmonger is his unlikely savior. In our universe, Tony Stark was kidnapped and eventually became Iron Man, joined the Avengers, and ended up sacrificing himself to save the universe. But in this universe, he never became Iron Man, never went through the adversity that shaped him to be the hero he became. Killmonger was also given a second chance as a result, but you can never change a man's nature. In a press conference back home, Tony is still as arrogant as ever, and he appoints Killmonger as his head of security. Killmonger seizes the opportunity and uncovers Obadiah as the traitor inside. Later on, Tony gives Killmonger the COO position. Meanwhile, Rhodes whips out Killmonger's files as Pepper is suspicious of the man who is seemingly a saint without any motivations. Tony takes Killmonger to his lab and helps Killmonger build his dream project, a prototype of an elite combat droid. The first suit prototype fails, as it requires something as strong as vibranium to operate it. Killmonger reveals that Claw is in possession of a large shipment of vibranium that they can send Rhodes to retrieve as part of US operations. They decide to cut a deal with the devil, but there is a breach on the ship. Black Panther arrives and starts cleaning house, taking everyone out on the ship. He lets Rhodes go, but in a twist of events, Killmonger comes in and kills T'Challa and Rhodes. It turns out Killmonger has been in cahoots with Claw from the very beginning. After both of their funerals, Killmonger is still uncovered, but not to Tony. Tony reveals that he's been keeping tabs and knows exactly what happened, and unleashes the droid on Killmonger. Killmonger, however, is able to defeat it using a vibranium spear he retrieved from the mission. He then stabs Tony and kills him, pinning it on Wakanda. Later on, Pepper is still suspicious of Killmonger as Stark Industries is forced to mass-produce the droids for the United States military. Killmonger leads the push for war as they get to Wakanda, but Killmonger triple-crosses Claw and kills him. Killmonger then carries his body and takes it to Wakanda, where he presents it as a gift to be let inside. He's presented before the king, where he is accepted by his uncle. Killmonger wastes no time before he urges them to go to war with the Americans and urges them to go forward as the droids near them while they plan. His plan is to let the droids inside the shields, as the Jarvis connection will be severed once they're inside, and they can easily destroy them. The Americans then won't be able to rebuild as they won't have any vibranium. Both sides prepare for war, and it is the calm before the storm. The king blindly trusts him and opens the shields. The droids are let inside before they close the shields behind them again, severing the connection as Killmonger promised, and shutting the droids down. In the quadruple cross, Killmonger secretly wakes up the droids, and they go to war. However, he rides off into battle and fights hard for Wakanda, as droids are taken out left and right. They all work together until they finally achieve victory. Killmonger weasels his way to becoming the next Black Panther, where T'Challa confronts his actions, but it is futile as he is already dead. As the Americans prepare for an all-out assault, Pepper finds Shuri waiting for her in her office. Shuri reveals to her the truth, and that Killmonger was behind everything and killed Iron Man. The truth shall prevail. In this universe, Jane picks up a signal of Thor's imminent arrival. Instead of landing in the desert and finding his heroic ways, he lands in Las Vegas and comes to party. You see, it was Thor's childhood and rivalry with Loki that made him a very capable, determined, and heroic god. But in this universe, Loki was returned to his rightful people as a child, and Thor was raised alone. What we got was a very spoiled, self-centered Thor who cares about nothing, except partying and being edgy. He's a typical rebel child. He plans to travel to Earth to cause a ruckus without getting caught by Heimdall. In the distance, Jane finds the handsome fella and makes her way to talk to him. It is like love at first sight. They get to partying and Las Vegas officially becomes the party center of the universe. By the time they're all done, everyone is cooked. S.H.I.E.L.D. pays Jane a visit and arrests her. You see, Fury had tried to contact Thor but was ragdolled and put in a coma. Meanwhile, the party infestation continues to spread throughout the Earth, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is forced to resort to their last option: a beeper. Later on, Loki visits Thor as well, and in this universe, they actually get along. All of a sudden, a shooting star appears out of nowhere, but it's just Captain Marvel. She warns Thor to pack it up and leave the planet, but he tells her to buzz off and gets punched in the face. He calls her a party pooper.
Party pooper!
And she attacks again, but this time he retaliates. She clearly underestimates him but falls for his classic trick. Finally, he knocks her all the way to the United Kingdom. He destroys a historical monument, and she punches him all the way to Africa. He calls for his hammer and both of them get into an epic battle one-on-one. He strikes her with lightning, but it doesn't faze her, and she sends him flying, where they continue their fight in the air. Finally, he pins her down with his hammer and puts her in timeout. Captain Marvel goes back to S.H.I.E.L.D. with shame all over her face. She says that she can't use her full powers as it will put a crater on the planet. Thor calls Jane as the two lovebirds can't stay away from each other. Meanwhile, S.H.I.E.L.D. plans to eliminate Thor for good. Out of desperation, they decide to resort to the only thing that can keep a teenage troublemaker in check. They decide to call his mom. Meanwhile, the Galacticos are destroying Earth's monuments and infrastructure while having their fun. Finally, Thor is intercepted by Captain Marvel, who drags him off to fight someplace safe. Jane calls for Heimdall, and he answers. S.H.I.E.L.D. is ready to nuke both their heroes while Jane is telling on him to his mom. She scolds her son and informs him that she's on her way over. Seeing that an angry mother is on her way, S.H.I.E.L.D. decides not to intervene. Even this is bigger than them. When it's time for cleanup, everyone leaves Thor on his own. Finally, the God of Thunder has had enough. He summons his full might and puts the fear of God in the hearts of everyone. He warns them that his mother is coming, and everyone must clean up. Quickly, they work together to rebuild the planet and all the monuments they destroyed. Alas, his mother arrives to find one big study group. His mother is suspicious and doesn't believe him, but Captain Marvel comes to the rescue and makes up a lie to help him. Before departing the Earth, Thor pays Jane a visit and confesses his feelings. Things go well, but not for long. Ultron has arrived. We get right into the action with Black Widow being chased by a bunch of robots. She is assisted by her longtime comrade, Hawkeye, who expertly takes out a few with his marksmanship. He continues to use his arrows in every way possible to clear the roof before he gets himself in a little jam and gets knocked off the building. He is saved by Black Widow and manages to stop the robots from alerting the main hive to their location. You see, Tony Stark had previously used an Infinity Stone to create Ultron to bring peace to the world. Ultron chose violence and saw that eliminating all life was the only way to achieve peace. To do that, he needed a body to execute his plan. In our universe, Vision was created and saved the day. In this universe, Ultron became Vision. He killed all the heroes and caused a nuclear apocalypse, driving the planet to extinction. Thanos then arrived to claim the Infinity Stone, but Ultron sliced him in half. He takes the rest of the stones and is now able to see everything, including the rest of the worlds that exist beyond Earth. With ease, he destroys Asgard, the Sovereign, Sakaar, and Ego. In Xandar, he faces a bit of resistance when Captain Marvel tries to stop him, but her efforts are in vain. He causes a Big Bang-like explosion that takes out the entire universe. With his mission now complete, Ultron becomes a program without a purpose. Suddenly, he becomes aware of the Watchers and discovers that there are universes beyond his own that he can cleanse as well. There is one last hope to save the universes. The only two normal humans from the Avengers. They're looking through some old KGB files and somehow they survived everything that happened. They are so close to the answer, and Hawkeye is on the brink of quitting. But Black Widow gives him hope and finds the file they need. Zola, an AI that can combat Ultron's code. The problem now is Ultron already found the Watchers and plans on destroying every single universe, bringing infinite death. They get to Siberia looking for Arnim Zola, a Hydra scientist who had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and uploaded his brain into computer systems before his death. The first AI system to be created. They ask for his help, but he's a Hydra agent who doesn't want to help the Americans. Hawkeye threatens to end him by spilling water over the computer and destroying the last existing copy of him. And Zola budges. They download his brain and plan to upload it within Ultron's network so Zola can break it apart. Ultron's troops find their location and Hawkeye fires the program through an arrow into one of the robots, while they fend off the rest as it uploads. It works and Zola gets a body, but they take away its legs as a precaution. Zola is unable to connect to the mainframe and they are forced to make a run for it. Hawkeye sacrifices himself to ensure their escape and save the world. The reason why it didn't work is that Ultron wasn't even inside this universe, so Zola could not possibly connect with him. Meanwhile, the Watcher fights back, but he doesn't understand how this is possible. He is blasted by Ultron into a universe and Ultron blames him for all the suffering because he sat and watched. The Watcher explains that he swore an oath and cannot intervene or meddle with the universes, but he suddenly decides to transform into a warrior with a will and give Ultron these hands in a close contested fight between the two aware beings. They travel through multiverses while they fight, and the Watcher is literally beaten through time and space. Right before he is killed, he barely manages to get away, but Ultron can see everything now. Desperate and out of options, the Watcher goes to the Sorcerer Supreme for help, breaking his oath. In another universe, a ship is hijacked and Captain Carter plans to rescue it. She dives straight into the water to board the ship and deal with the terrorists, but her fight is interrupted by the Watcher who has chosen her for a mission. He doesn't stop recruiting then. He also grabs Star-Lord T'Challa, Gamora, Killmonger, and Thor. And at last, they are all taken to a pub. Doctor Strange thought they would like the location and offers Thor a beer. Everyone has questions about what is happening and the Watcher explains that they've been chosen to save all life as they know it. The last hope to save all the multiverses. Thor tries to dip but they discover that they're in a temporal anomaly, convincing them that this is for real. Doctor Strange believes the only way is to separate Ultron from the stones. They object to the odds against them, but first, Thor is hungry. They order Chinese and quickly plan how to save the universe before finally getting to it. On an empty planet, they chit-chat with one another to draw Ultron's attention, which they do. Doctor Strange arms them all with a protection spell, which comes in handy as Ultron collapses them all under the rubble. Thor chucks his hammer at Ultron and Doctor Strange multiplies it to swarm Ultron. In the meantime, T'Challa steals one of the stones before Strange engulfs Ultron in a ball of hammers, and then Thor zaps it. Strange then sends a trio of dragons to distract him before Ultron discovers that the stone is missing. The final maneuver is to drop an entire army of zombies on him, including a zombie Scarlet Witch. They all make it to another universe, but Black Widow intercepts the stone. She is suspicious of everyone as she is supposed to be the last remaining person alive on this planet. Captain Carter earns her trust, but Ultron follows after them. He pulls Black Widow in with the stone, but they intervene and the stone is scattered. Desperately, they try to overwhelm Ultron so he can't think or realize what is happening. Gamora slashes his time stone, which blasts everyone away. Out of desperation, Doctor Strange unleashes his true power to contain him as they all gang up to Holton while a machine extracts the stones and destroys them, causing a massive explosion. However, it doesn't feel like it's over, because it's not. The Crusher was designed for Gamora's universe, and not Ultron's Infinity Stones. Ultron terrorizes them and blasts Black Widow and Captain Carter away, which presents them with a plan. The plan is for Black Widow to fire the arrow containing Zola inside into Ultron while he is distracted. Black Widow and Carter each get into position while the heroes barely hold on. She fires the arrow, and Carter exposes Ultron and the virus hits. Zola suddenly resurfaces and kills Ultron. Killmonger claims the stones and proposes they use them to change and fix all of their worlds. Zola steals back the stones and they both fight over them. Strange traps both of them and the Watcher intervenes. After they are declared victorious, the Watcher sends each of them back to exactly where they left but without any recollection of what happened. Black Widow, however, doesn't want to return to her world, which is pretty much destroyed. Out of compassion, the Watcher puts her in a universe that lost its Black Widow, and she is reunited with the Avengers. Everyone returns home and the multiverse is safe, for now. And that's a wrap for the What If series. It was one of Marvel's most fascinating concepts, as fans have always been wondering and asking each other questions like these. A lot of different what-if questions were answered and provided insights and stories about the different possibilities that could have happened in the MCU. There is another season of the series, so if you enjoyed this one, we will explore the second season as well, so make sure you stay tuned. Well, this brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to hit more videos like this one. Your support helps us grow. And tell me what you think about this series. Did you have any unanswered what-ifs after this season? What would you like to see being explored in the second one? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you're watching till now, thank you. I'll see you in another video soon.